Elena Marquez thought she was asking a stranger for a simple favor, one kiss, to make her abusive ex back off. She had no idea the man she grabbed on that desperate afternoon was Dante Moretti, the city's most feared crime boss. What started as a moment of panic became a binding act of protection she could never undo. Now her quiet niece speaks for the first time in years, calling this dangerous man Dad. Now Elena wears his ring and sleeps in his bed. But before she became his wife, she had to survive the war he started to keep her. This is the story of how one impulsive kiss pulled a frightened waitress and a traumatized child into a world of violence, devotion, and the kind of love that burns everything else to the ground. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from, because what happened next will leave you breathless. The alarm clock buzzed at 5:30 in the morning, and Elena's hand shot out from under the covers to silence it. She lay still for a moment, staring at the water-stained ceiling of her tiny bedroom. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the distant sound of traffic already building on the street below. She pushed herself up and rubbed her eyes. Another day, another shift, another dozen hours on her feet, smiling at customers who didn't see her, pouring coffee for people who never said thank you. But that wasn't what made her stomach tight with dread. It was the thought of him. Brady, her ex-boyfriend who refused to accept that ex meant gone, finished, over. Elena stood and walked quietly down the narrow hallway to the second bedroom. She pushed open the door and peeked inside. Luna was curled up under her blanket, dark hair spread across the pillow, one small hand tucked under her cheek. The little girl looked peaceful in sleep, safe. Elena's chest tightened. She would do anything to keep her niece safe. Anything. She closed the door softly and headed to the bathroom. The mirror showed a tired woman with shadows under her eyes. 28 years old, and she felt 50. She splashed cold water on her face and tied her hair back into a ponytail. By 6:15, she had toast ready and Luna's backpack sitting by the door. She went back to the bedroom and gently shook the little girl's shoulder. "Time to wake up, sweetheart." Luna's eyes opened slowly. She didn't speak. She almost never did anymore. Not since the accident that took her mother, Elena's sister, 2 years ago. The therapist said Luna would talk again when she felt safe enough, when the world felt less scary. Elena helped her get dressed and sat with her at the small kitchen table while Luna ate her toast in silence. She watched the little girl's face, searching for any sign of fear or worry. But Luna just chewed slowly, staring at the cartoon character on her lunchbox. "We're going to have a good day today," Elena said softly. "I'll pick you up right after school like always. And maybe we can get ice cream on the way home." Luna looked up at her. Those big brown eyes held so much that never came out in words. She nodded once. Elena smiled and brushed a strand of hair from Luna's face. "I love you." Luna reached out and squeezed Elena's hand. It was her way of saying it back. They left the apartment at 7. The morning air was cool and the city was waking up around them. Cars honked. A dog barked from somewhere nearby. A man in a suit rushed past them, coffee in one hand and phone in the other. Elena held Luna's hand tightly as they walked the 3 blocks to the elementary school. She kept her eyes moving, scanning the parked cars, the sidewalks, the alleys, looking for Brady's beat-up grey sedan. And then she saw it. Her heart lurched. The car was parked across the street from the school, engine off, windows dark. She couldn't see inside, but she knew. She felt it in her bones. He was watching. Elena's grip on Luna's hand tightened. She forced herself to keep walking, to keep breathing normally. She wouldn't let Luna see her panic. She wouldn't give him that power. They reached the school gates, and Elena knelt down to Luna's level. She straightened the little girl's collar and adjusted her backpack straps. "Have a great day, okay? I'll be right here at 3 to pick you up." Luna nodded. She glanced back at the street, then at Elena's face. The little girl's eyes were worried. She knows something's wrong, Elena thought. She always knows. Elena kissed her forehead. "Go on. You're safe here." Luna hesitated, then walked through the gates toward the school entrance. Elena stayed where she was, watching until the little girl disappeared inside the building. Only then did she allow herself to look back at Brady's car. It was still there, waiting. Elena turned and walked in the opposite direction, toward the bus stop that would take her to the diner. Her hands were shaking. She shoved them into her jacket pockets and kept her head down. The Diner was a 20-minute bus ride away, tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop in a neighborhood that had seen better days. The sign outside said, Rosie's, in faded red letters. Elena had worked there for 3 years. The pay was terrible, but Rosie let her work around Luna's school schedule, and that was worth more than money. She pushed through the front door at 8 sharp. The smell of coffee and bacon grease hit her immediately. The morning rush was already starting. Men in work boots sat at the counter. A couple with a screaming toddler occupied a booth by the window. "Elena, you're up front today," Rosie's voice came from behind the counter. The owner was a stocky woman in her 60s with grey hair and a permanent scowl, but she had a good heart under all that toughness. "Got it." Elena tied on her apron and grabbed her order pad. The next 3 hours passed in a blur of coffee refills, scrambled eggs, and hash browns. Elena moved on autopilot, smiling when she needed to, writing down orders, delivering plates. Her mind was somewhere else, on Luna, sitting in her classroom, on Brady's car parked outside the school. Around 11, Rosie called her into the tiny office in the back. "You okay?" The older woman's eyes were sharp. "You seem jumpy." Elena hesitated. She didn't want to drag Rosie into her problems. "I'm fine, just tired." "Uh-huh." Rosie crossed her arms. "Well, that ex of yours came by yesterday. After your shift." Elena's stomach dropped. "Brady was here, asking when you work, what time you leave. I told him to get lost, but he hung around outside for a while." Rosie's expression softened. "You need to be careful, honey. That boy's got mean eyes." "I know." Elena's voice came out barely above a whisper. "I'm handling it." "You sure?" "Because I can call, I'm sure." Elena forced a smile. "Thank you, Rosie. I should get back out there." She left the office before Rosie could press further. The lunch rush was starting, and the diner was filling up fast. Elena threw herself into the work, grateful for the distraction. But at 1:30, during her break, she stepped out the back door for some air, and there he was. Brady was leaning against the brick wall of the alley, arms crossed, watching her with that same cold smile she'd come to hate. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with short blonde hair and a jaw that was too sharp. He wore jeans and a black t-shirt that showed off his arms that had held her too tight, arms that had left bruises. "Hey, babe." His voice was casual, like they were old friends. "Long time no see." Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. "Leave me alone, Brady. That's not very nice." He pushed off the wall and took a step toward her. "I just wanted to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." She backed toward the door, but he was faster. He moved to block her path. "See, that's where you're wrong." His smile faded. "You don't get to just walk away from me. We had something." "We had nothing. You hurt me. I left. It's over." His eyes hardened. "It's over when I say it's over." Elena's breath came fast and shallow. She looked past him, hoping someone would come out the back door, but the alley was empty. "I could visit that little girl of yours," Brady said softly. "Luna, right? Sweet kid. Saw her this morning on her way to school." Rage and terror flooded through Elena in equal measure. "Don't you dare. Relax." He held up his hands in mock surrender. "I'm just saying, it'd be nice to see you both. Maybe I'll stop by sometime. Have a chat." Elena's entire body trembled. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. Brady stepped closer. "Think about it, Elena. We could be good together again. You just need to stop being so stubborn." He reached out to touch her face, and something inside Elena snapped. She slapped his hand away and shoved past him, stumbling back through the door into the diner. She slammed it behind her and leaned against it, gasping for air. Rosie appeared at the end of the hallway. "You all right?" "Fine." Elena straightened up and wiped her eyes. "I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She was terrified, but she didn't know what to do. Calling the police meant paperwork and questions, and maybe making Brady even angrier. A restraining order was just a piece of paper. It wouldn't stop him. Nothing would stop him. Elena returned to the dining room, trying to pull herself together. She poured coffee. She took orders. She smiled. And then Brady walked through the front door. He didn't sit down. He just stood there in the entrance, hands in his pockets, staring at her across the room. Other customers glanced at him, then went back to their meals. Rosie shot Elena a worried look from behind the counter. Elena kept working, refusing to look at him, but she felt his eyes on her, burning into her back, following her every move. 10 minutes passed, then 20. He didn't leave. Finally, Elena's break came again. She didn't want to go outside, but she needed to get away from Brady's stare. She slipped out the front door and stood on the sidewalk, arms wrapped around herself. The street was busy. Cars drove past. People walked by. The pawn shop next door had its security gate half closed. Everything looked normal, safe, but Elena didn't feel safe. She was about to go back inside when Brady appeared beside her. She hadn't even seen him leave the diner. "We're not done talking," he said. "Yes, we are." Elena turned to walk away, but he grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her. "Let go of me." "Or what?" He leaned in close. "You gonna call the cops?" "We both know you won't. You're too scared." He was right. She was scared, terrified. And then she saw him. A man was walking toward them on the sidewalk, tall, dark hair, wearing an expensive-looking suit that fit him perfectly. He moved with the kind of confidence that made people step aside without thinking. Even from a distance, Elena could tell he was different, powerful, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with anger or fists. An idea formed in her mind, a desperate, stupid idea, but she was out of options. Brady's grip tightened on her arm. "You listening to me?" The man in the suit was closer now, maybe 10 feet away. His eyes flicked toward them, taking in the scene with one quick glance. Elena made her decision. She yanked her arm free from Brady and stepped directly into the stranger's path. She reached out and grabbed his sleeve, her fingers trembling against the fabric. The man stopped. His gaze dropped to her hand, then rose to her face. His eyes were dark, unreadable. Elena's voice came out shaky and desperate. "Please, just kiss me. I need him to leave." For a moment, no one moved. Brady stared at her like she'd lost her mind. The stranger's expression didn't change. And then he looked past her at Brady. Something flickered in those dark eyes, something cold and deadly. He turned, his attention back to Elena. His hand came up slowly and cupped the side of her face. His touch was surprisingly gentle. "You're shaking," he said quietly. His voice was deep, with a hint of an accent she couldn't place. "Please," Elena whispered. The stranger studied her for another heartbeat. Then he leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't rough or demanding. It was slow, controlled, like he had all the time in the world and nothing in the universe could rush him. His lips were warm against hers, and his hand stayed steady on her cheek. Elena's eyes closed. For just a moment, she forgot about Brady. She forgot about everything except the strange sense of safety radiating from this man. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "Is he still here?" Elena opened her eyes. Brady was standing there, face red with fury. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Brady demanded. The stranger didn't answer. He didn't even look at Brady. He kept his eyes on Elena. But 2 men appeared out of nowhere. Big men in dark suits. They moved to stand on either side of the stranger, silent and menacing. Bodyguards. Brady's anger faltered. He looked at the 2 men, then at the stranger, and something like recognition crossed his face. Or maybe it was fear. "This isn't over," Brady said to Elena. But his voice had lost its edge. He turned and walked away quickly, disappearing around the corner. Elena's knees went weak. She swayed, and the stranger's hand moved to her elbow, steadying her. She breathed. "I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do." "What's your name?" he asked. "Elena." "Elena." He said it like he was testing how it sounded. "Do you know who I am?" She shook her head, suddenly aware that she'd just kissed a complete stranger. A stranger with bodyguards. One of the guards leaned in and murmured something in the stranger's ear. The man nodded slightly. "My name is Dante," he said to Elena, "and you just asked a very dangerous man for help." Elena's heart sank. "Dangerous?" His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Let's just say people don't usually grab me on the street." One of the bodyguards cleared his throat. "Boss, we need to move." Dante ignored him. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a card. He pressed it into Elena's hand. "If he comes back," Dante said, "call me." "I can't, I didn't mean to. You asked for my protection." His voice was quiet but absolute. "That's not something I ignore." A single tear slid down Elena's cheek. She didn't know why. Relief, maybe, or terror at what she'd just done. Dante's expression softened slightly. He reached up and wiped the tear away with his thumb, the gesture unexpectedly tender. "Go back inside," he said. "You're safe now." Then he turned and walked away, his bodyguards flanking him. They disappeared around the corner, and Elena was left standing on the sidewalk, clutching a business card that had nothing on it but a phone number. Her hands were still shaking. She went back into the diner and finished her shift in a daze. Rosie kept giving her worried looks, but Elena couldn't find the words to explain what had just happened, because she didn't understand it herself. At 3 o'clock, she clocked out and hurried to the bus stop. The ride to Luna's school felt like it took forever. She kept replaying the kiss in her mind, the way Dante had looked at her, the coldness in his eyes when he glanced at Brady. People don't usually grab me on the street. What did that mean? Who was he? The bus dropped her off 2 blocks from the school. Elena walked quickly, scanning the street for Brady's car. She didn't see it, but she saw something else. A black SUV with tinted windows was parked across from the school gates. As Elena approached, she felt eyes on her, watching. Her pulse quickened. She hurried through the gates just as the bell rang. Children poured out of the building, laughing and shouting. Elena spotted Luna immediately. The little girl walked alone, head down, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. "Hey, sweetheart." Elena knelt down and pulled her into a hug. "How was your day?" Luna nodded. "Good." They walked home hand in hand. Elena kept glancing over her shoulder, but the black SUV didn't follow. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. Their apartment building was old and run down, with peeling paint and a broken intercom system. Elena led Luna up the 3 flights of stairs to their unit. She unlocked the door and ushered the little girl inside. "Go ahead and do your homework," Elena said. "I'll make us some dinner." Luna dropped her backpack and headed to her room. Elena went to the kitchen and started pulling out ingredients for spaghetti. It was cheap and easy, and Luna liked it. As she cooked, Elena's mind wandered back to Dante. She'd stuffed his card into her apron pocket, and now she pulled it out and stared at it. Just a phone number, no name, no explanation. She should throw it away. She should forget this whole thing ever happened. But she didn't. She tucked the card into her wallet instead. After dinner, Elena helped Luna with her homework, then let her watch TV while she cleaned up. By 8:30, Luna was in bed, and Elena was alone with her thoughts. She stood at the window, looking down at the street. A few cars were parked along the curb. Street lights cast long shadows. Everything seemed quiet, but Elena couldn't relax. She thought about Brady, about the threat in his voice when he mentioned Luna, about how he'd watched her all day like a predator circling prey. She thought about Dante, about the way he'd kissed her without hesitation, about the bodyguards who appeared like ghosts, and she wondered what she'd gotten herself into. The next morning started the same way. Alarm at 5:30. Wake Luna. Make breakfast. Walk to school. But when they stepped outside the building, Elena froze. Her car was parked on the street where she'd left it the night before. But the windshield was shattered. Glass covered the hood and the pavement around it, and tucked under the wiper blade was a note. Elena's hands shook as she pulled it free and unfolded it. "You think some stranger can protect you? Think again. You're mine, Elena, always." The handwriting was Brady's. Elena's vision blurred. Her chest felt tight. She looked down at Luna, who was staring at the broken car with wide, frightened eyes. "It's okay," Elena whispered, though it wasn't. Nothing was okay. "We'll take the bus." She took Luna's hand and led her away from the car, forcing herself to walk normally, to breathe, to not scream. They made it to school without incident. Elena watched Luna disappear into the building, then turned and walked to the bus stop with tears streaming down her face. She couldn't do this anymore. She couldn't protect Luna from Brady. She couldn't keep living in fear. And as she sat on the bus, heading toward another shift at the diner, she pulled out her phone. She stared at Dante's number for a long time. Then she put the phone away. She didn't know him. She didn't trust him. And she wouldn't owe a dangerous man anything. She'd handle this herself, somehow. The day dragged on. Elena moved through her shift like a zombie, pouring coffee and delivering food without really seeing anything. Her mind kept circling back to the note, to Brady's threat. You're mine, Elena. Always. At 2 o'clock, Rosie pulled her aside again. Go home, the older woman said firmly. You're no good to anyone like this. I'm fine. You're not. Go. I'll cover your tables. Elena didn't have the energy to argue. She grabbed her things and left through the back door. But when she stepped into the alley, she wasn't alone. Dante was there, leaning against the wall with his hands in his pockets. He wore a different suit today, charcoal grey, but he had the same air of quiet power. How did you know I was here? Elena asked. I've been keeping an eye on you. He said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. That's creepy. That's protection. He pushed off the wall and walked toward her. I saw your car this morning. Saw the note. Elena's stomach twisted. You've been following me? Making sure you're safe. His eyes were steady on hers. Your ex is escalating. You know that, don't you? I can handle it. Can you? Dante's voice was quiet but sharp. Because from where I'm standing, you're one bad day away from something terrible happening. Elena wanted to argue, to tell him she didn't need his help, but the words stuck in her throat, because he was right. I don't know you, she said instead. I don't know what you want from me. I don't want anything from you. Dante stepped closer. But you asked for my protection, and I don't make promises I don't keep. I just needed him to leave me alone. You didn't think I'd take it seriously. He tilted his head slightly. That kiss wasn't just a kiss, Elena. It was a claim. And in my world, that means something. Her breath caught. Your world? One of his bodyguards appeared at the mouth of the alley. Boss, we need to go. Dante didn't look away from Elena. Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? My apartment isn't safe. Not anymore. His expression hardened. He knows where you live. He's been inside your building. He's been near your niece. Panic flared in Elena's chest. How do you know that? Because I've been watching him too. The words hung in the air between them. Elena's mind raced. She thought about Luna, about the broken windshield, about Brady's cold smile. What do you want me to do? She whispered. Dante pulled out his phone and sent a quick text. Then he looked at Elena again. Go pick up your niece. Take her home. Pack a bag. His voice was calm, steady. I'll have someone outside your building. When you're ready, they'll bring you somewhere safe. For how long? As long as it takes. Elena shook her head. I can't just leave my life. Your life is in danger. Dante's eyes bored into hers. And so is hers. Do you understand that? She did. God help her, she did. I don't want to owe you, Elena said quietly. Something flickered in Dante's expression, almost like pain. You don't owe me anything, he said, but I need to know you're both safe. Can you let me do that? Elena looked at this stranger who'd kissed her to scare off her ex, this dangerous man who'd somehow decided she was worth protecting, and she nodded. Okay. Elena stood on the sidewalk outside Luna's school at 3 o'clock, her mind racing in circles. The black SUV was parked in the same spot as yesterday, windows dark and silent. She knew now that it belonged to Dante, that he'd been watching over them without her even realizing it. The thought should have scared her. Instead, she felt something else, something she didn't want to name. The bell rang. Children flooded out of the building in a chaos of backpacks and laughter. Elena spotted Luna walking slowly down the steps, alone as always. Hey, sweetheart. Elena forced a smile and took Luna's hand. We need to go home and pack some things. We're going to stay somewhere else for a little while. Luna's eyes went wide. She looked up at Elena with a question she couldn't ask. It's okay, Elena said softly. We'll be safe, I promise. They walked home quickly. Elena kept looking over her shoulder, searching for Brady's grey sedan. She didn't see it, but that didn't mean he wasn't watching. Their apartment felt different when they walked in. Smaller, more vulnerable. Elena looked at the cheap lock on the door and realized how easy it would be for someone to break in. How had she ever felt safe here? Go pack your favorite things, Elena told Luna. Clothes for a few days. And your stuffed rabbit. Luna nodded and disappeared into her room. Elena went to her own bedroom and pulled a duffel bag from the closet. She threw in jeans, shirts, underwear. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely zip the bag closed. This is crazy, she thought. I'm running away with a stranger. A dangerous man I don't even know. But what choice did she have? Brady had made it clear he wasn't going to stop, and the police couldn't help her. Not really. A restraining order was just paper. It wouldn't keep Luna safe. Elena grabbed Luna's bag from her room and met her in the hallway. The little girl clutched her worn stuffed rabbit to her chest, eyes full of worry. "It's going to be an adventure," Elena said, trying to sound cheerful. "Like a sleepover." Luna didn't look convinced, but she took Elena's hand and held on tight. They left the apartment and walked down the 3 flights of stairs. Elena's heart hammered with every step. When they pushed through the front door of the building, she half expected to see Brady waiting. Instead, she saw a man in a dark suit standing beside a black car. He was younger than Dante, maybe early 30s, with sharp features and watchful eyes. He nodded to Elena. "Miss Marquez, I'm Marco. Mr. Moretti sent me." Elena swallowed hard. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe." Marco opened the back door of the car. "Please." Elena looked down at Luna. The little girl's fingers tightened around hers. They got in. Marco drove in silence through the city. Elena watched the streets pass by the window, feeling like she was watching her old life disappear. They left her neighborhood behind and entered parts of the city she'd only seen from the bus. Taller buildings, cleaner streets, money. After 20 minutes, Marco pulled into an underground parking garage. He drove down 2 levels and parked near a private elevator. He got out and opened Elena's door. "This way." Elena picked up both bags and took Luna's hand. They followed Marco to the elevator. He pressed his thumb to a scanner and the doors slid open. The ride up was silent except for the quiet hum of machinery. Luna pressed against Elena's side, and Elena wrapped an arm around her shoulders. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment. Elena stepped out and froze. The space was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. The furniture was modern and expensive, all clean lines and dark leather. A chandelier hung over a dining table that could seat 12. The kitchen had marble countertops and appliances that looked like they'd never been used. It was beautiful and completely intimidating. "Mr. Moretti will be here soon," Marco said. "Make yourselves comfortable. The guest rooms are down that hall. You can choose whichever one you like." He gestured to a corridor on the left, then stepped back into the elevator. The doors closed, and he was gone. Elena and Luna stood alone in the massive living room. "Wow," Elena whispered. Luna's eyes were huge as she looked around. She'd never seen anything like this. Neither had Elena. "Come on." Elena led Luna down the hallway. There were 4 bedrooms, each one bigger than their entire apartment. The first had a king-sized bed with white linens. The second had a view of the city. The third had built-in bookshelves. The fourth had pale yellow walls and a window seat with cushions. "This one," Elena said. "You like yellow." She set their bags down and helped Luna unpack her clothes into the dresser. The little girl moved quietly, exploring the room with careful steps. She touched the soft bedspread, looked out the window, sat on the window seat. Elena watched her and felt her throat tighten. Luna deserved this. She deserved safety and comfort and a home that didn't smell like mildew and neighbors cooking. But this wasn't their home. This was borrowed, temporary. A sound came from the main room, the elevator doors opening. Elena's pulse jumped. She walked back down the hallway, leaving Luna in the bedroom. When she entered the living room, Dante was there. He'd removed his suit jacket and rolled up his shirt sleeves. He looked more human like this, less untouchable. He was pouring himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "You came," he said without looking at her. "You didn't give me much choice." Now he looked up. His dark eyes studied her face. "There's always a choice, Elena. You could have told me no. And then what? Wait for Brady to break into my apartment? Wait for him to grab Luna off the street?" Dante's jaw tightened. "That won't happen. How can you be so sure?" "Because he'd have to go through me first." He said it simply, like it was a fact. "And no one goes through me." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't understand why you're doing this. You don't know me." "No, but I know what it looks like when someone's desperate, when they're protecting someone they love." He took a sip of his drink. "I know what it costs." There was something in his voice, something raw. Elena took a step closer. "Who are you, really?" "I told you. My name is Dante. That's not what I mean." He was quiet for a moment. Then he set down his glass and looked at her directly. "I run a family business. Security, investments, Real estate. He paused. Some of it is legal, some of it isn't. People know my name. They know not to cross me. Elena's stomach dropped. You're in the Mafia. That's a dramatic word, but it's true. Dante didn't deny it. Yes. Elena took a step back. Her hands were shaking again. Oh my God, I asked a mob boss to kiss me. You asked a stranger to protect you. His voice was calm. I'm just making sure I follow through. By bringing me to your... What is this place? My home. I can't stay here. Luna can't stay here. Why not? Because you're dangerous. So is your ex. Dante moved toward her, and Elena had to fight the urge to back away. At least with me, you know where the danger is. With him, you don't. He was right. She hated that he was right. What do you want from me? Elena asked quietly. Nothing. People don't just help. For free. Especially people like you. Something flickered across Dante's face. Pain, maybe. Or anger. I'm not helping you for free. I'm helping you because you asked. And because... He stopped. Because what? He looked away. Because I couldn't protect my own family. Maybe I can protect yours. The words hung in the air. Elena stared at him. What happened to your family? That's not a conversation for tonight. Dante's expression closed off. You should eat something. There's food in the kitchen. Or I can have something brought up. We're fine. Elena, he said her name like it meant something. You're safe here, both of you. That's all you need to know right now. Before she could respond, a small figure appeared in the hallway. Luna. The little girl stood there in her socks, holding her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were on Dante. Elena moved toward her. It's okay, sweetheart. This is Dante. He's letting us stay here for a while. Luna didn't move. She just kept staring at Dante with those big, serious eyes. And then she did something that shocked Elena to her core. She walked across the room, straight to Dante. She stopped in front of him and looked up. And then, slowly, she reached out and took hold of his sleeve. Elena's breath caught. Luna hadn't willingly approached anyone except Elena in 2 years. Not teachers, not therapists, not other children. But she was holding on to Dante like he was an anchor. Dante looked down at the little girl. His expression shifted, all the hardness melting away into something gentle, something almost broken. Hello, he said softly. Luna didn't speak. She just held his sleeve and studied his face. Your aunt said your name is Luna. Dante's voice was quieter than Elena had ever heard it. That's a beautiful name. Luna nodded once. Are you hungry? He asked. Another nod. Then let's see what we can find. He walked toward the kitchen, and Luna followed, still holding his sleeve. Elena stood frozen in the living room, trying to process what she was seeing. Dante opened the refrigerator and crouched down so he was at Luna's level. Do you like pasta? Luna nodded. Good, I'll make some. He started pulling out ingredients, fresh pasta, tomatoes, basil, garlic. Elena finally found her voice. You cook? Sometimes. Dante set a pot on the stove and filled it with water. When I want to think. Luna climbed onto one of the bar stools and watched him work. Elena sat beside her, still in shock. Dante moved with the same controlled precision he did everything else. He chopped vegetables, heated olive oil, minced garlic. The kitchen filled with the smell of cooking tomatoes and herbs. Can you hand me that bowl? Dante asked Luna. The little girl pushed a ceramic bowl across the counter to him. He smiled a real smile that changed his whole face. Thank you. They ate at the kitchen island instead of the massive dining table. Dante served the pasta simply with just the tomato sauce and fresh basil. It was the best thing Elena had tasted in months. This is amazing, she said before she could stop herself. My mother's recipe. Dante twirled pasta around his fork. She used to say, good food fixes everything. Did it? Elena asked. Fix everything? His smile faded. No. Luna reached out and touched his hand. Just for a second. Then, she went back to eating. Dante stared at the spot where she'd touched him like he couldn't quite believe it had happened. After dinner, Elena helped Luna get ready for bed. The little girl was exhausted from the stress of the day. She crawled under the covers with her rabbit and looked up at Elena with worried eyes. We're safe here, Elena whispered. I promise. Try to sleep. Luna nodded. But her hand reached out and grabbed Elena's. Elena sat with her until she fell asleep, stroking her hair and humming softly. When Luna's breathing deepened, Elena carefully extracted her hand and tiptoed out of the room. She found Dante standing at the windows in the living room, looking out at the city lights. He'd put his suit jacket back on, like he was preparing to leave. "Is she asleep?" he asked without turning around. "Yes. Good." He was quiet for a moment. "Marco will be here all night, in case you need anything. Where are you going?" "I have business to take care of." Elena's stomach twisted. "What kind of business?" Now he turned to look at her. "The kind you don't want to know about. Brady." Dante didn't answer. He didn't need to. Elena could see it in his eyes. "Don't hurt him," she said quickly. "Please, I just want him to leave us alone. He threatened a child." "Elena, your child." "She's not my—" Elena stopped. "She's my niece. But I'm all she has." "Then you understand why I can't let him keep threatening her. I understand that I don't want you to do something you can't take back." Elena walked closer. To him. "There has to be another way." "There isn't." "How do you know?" "Because men like Brady don't stop. Not unless they're made to stop." Dante's voice was hard now, cold. "You can't reason with them. You can't scare them away with words. They only understand power. And what are you going to do? Kill him?" The silence stretched between them. "If I have to," Dante said finally. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. "No, no, you can't. I can, and I will. To keep you safe. I didn't ask you to kill anyone. You asked me to protect you." Dante's eyes burned into hers. "This is what protection looks like in my world. Then maybe I don't want your protection." The words exploded out of her before she could stop them. Dante flinched like she'd slapped him. Elena took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. I can't have blood on my hands, even his. It wouldn't be on your hands. It would be on mine. That's not how it works." She wrapped her arms around herself. "If you kill him because of me, because of Luna, then we're part of it. And I can't live with that." Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right. All right. I won't kill him, but I will make sure he never comes near you again." "How?" "You don't want to know the details, Elena. Trust me." She did trust him. That was the terrifying part. She'd known this man for less than 2 days, and she trusted him more than anyone except Luna. "Thank you," she whispered. Dante's expression softened. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture achingly gentle. "Get some rest. You're safe here." Then he walked to the elevator and disappeared. Elena stood alone in the enormous penthouse and wondered what she'd done, what she'd started, and whether there was any way to stop it now. She went to bed in the room next to Luna's, but sleep wouldn't come. She lay in the darkness, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the penthouse, the hum of the air conditioning, the distant sound of traffic far below, and she thought about Dante's face when Luna had taken his hand, the way all his walls had crumbled for just a moment. He'd lost someone. His family, he'd said. Elena wondered who they were, what had happened to them. She wondered who Dante Moretti really was underneath all that danger and control, and she wondered if she'd ever find out. The next morning, Elena woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came rushing back. Brady, the threat, Dante. She got up and checked on Luna. The little girl was still asleep, curled around her rabbit. Elena left her and went to the kitchen. Marco was there, sitting at the counter with a cup of coffee and a newspaper. He looked up when Elena entered. "Morning, Miss Marquez. Coffee? Please. And call me Elena." He poured her a cup from a fancy machine. Elena didn't know how to work. She accepted it gratefully. "Mr. Moretti left instructions for you," Marco said. "You're not to leave the penthouse without calling him first. The elevator requires a thumbprint to operate, but I've been authorized to take you anywhere you need to go." Elena's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "So I'm a prisoner. You're protected." Marco's voice was firm but not unkind. "There's a difference." "Is there? Brady Keller showed up at your apartment building last night at 2 a.m. He tried to break in. If you'd been there." Marco let the sentence hang. Elena's blood ran cold. "How do you know that?" "We have someone watching the building." "Of course you do." She took a shaky sip of coffee. "What happened?" "Our guy convinced him to leave." Permanently. What does that mean? Marco just looked at her. Elena set down her cup. I need to call my boss. Tell her I won't be in for a while. Already done. Mr. Moretti spoke with her this morning. He what? He explained that you had a family emergency and would be taking some personal time. Your job is waiting for you when you're ready to come back. Elena wanted to be angry. She wanted to rage about Dante making decisions for her, but all she felt was tired. Is there anything you haven't taken care of? She asked. Marco almost smiled. Your niece needs to get to school. I can take her if you'd like, or we can arrange for a tutor to come here. She needs to go to school. She needs normal. Then I'll drive her and pick her up. Same as before, except safer. Luna appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. She saw Marco and immediately moved to Elena's side. It's okay, Elena said softly. This is Marco. He works with Dante. He's going to drive you to school today. Luna looked uncertain. I'll pack you an extra snack, Elena added. And I'll be right here when you get home. I promise. After a moment, Luna nodded. Elena got her ready for school and walked her down to the garage with Marco. She hugged Luna tight before letting her go. Be good. I love you. Luna squeezed her back. Then she climbed into Marco's car. Elena watched them drive away and felt her chest ache. This wasn't normal. This wasn't the life she wanted for Luna, but it was safer than what they'd had before. She went back upstairs and tried to figure out what to do with herself. The penthouse was too big, too quiet. She wandered from room to room, feeling like a ghost. She found herself in Dante's study, a room lined with bookshelves and dominated by a large desk. She shouldn't be in here. She knew that, but she couldn't help herself. She looked at the books on the shelves. Philosophy, history, classic literature. She'd expected something different. She didn't know what. Maybe books about crime or violence. On the desk was a framed photograph. Elena picked it up. It showed a younger Dante with his arm around a beautiful woman with dark hair and bright eyes. She was laughing at something off camera, and in her arms was a baby. Elena's throat tightened. His family, the ones he couldn't protect. She set the photo down carefully and left the study. She felt like she'd seen something private, something sacred. The day dragged. Elena tried to watch TV but couldn't focus. She made herself lunch but barely ate it. She kept checking the time, waiting for Marco to bring Luna home. Finally, at 3:30, the elevator doors opened. Luna ran in and straight into Elena's arms. Elena held her tight, breathing in the familiar smell of her shampoo. How was school? Luna held up a drawing. It showed 3 stick figures, 2 big, 1 small. They were holding hands. Elena's heart squeezed. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Who are they? Luna pointed. Elena, Luna, and Dante. Oh, Elena didn't know what to say. That's very nice. Marco cleared his throat. Mr. Moretti will be home for dinner tonight. He wanted me to ask if there's anything special you'd like. We don't need anything special. He's bringing Chinese food. He said kids like orange chicken. Despite everything, Elena smiled. Luna does like orange chicken. Then it's settled. Marco nodded to them both and left. Luna went to the window seat in her room and started coloring. Elena sat nearby, watching her. The little girl seemed calmer than she had in weeks. Even with everything that was happening, she felt safe here. Because of Dante. At 6 o'clock, the elevator opened again. Elena heard Dante's voice before she saw him. Luna, I brought dinner. The little girl jumped up and ran to the living room. Elena followed. Dante was setting white takeout boxes on the counter. He'd loosened his tie, and there was a tiredness around his eyes that hadn't been there before. But when Luna appeared, his expression softened. Hey, he crouched down. I heard you like orange chicken. Luna nodded enthusiastically. Good, because I got extra. He glanced at Elena. And something called lo mein, which I'm told is also important. They ate together at the kitchen island again. Luna chattered silently with her hands, and somehow Dante seemed to understand. He responded with careful patience, never rushing her, never getting frustrated when he didn't grasp what she meant. Elena watched them and felt something crack open inside her chest. After dinner, Dante did something unexpected. He walked to the corner of the living room where a grand piano sat. Do you play? He asked Luna. The little girl's eyes went wide. She shook her head. Would you like to learn? Luna looked at Elena. Elena nodded. It's okay. Dante sat on the piano bench and patted the space beside him. Luna climbed up, clutching her rabbit. He played a simple melody, soft and sweet. Then he took Luna's hand and placed her finger on one of the keys. Press, here. She did. A clear note rang out. Good. Now this one. Luna pressed another key. And another. Soon, she was creating her own simple tune, and Dante was smiling at her like she'd performed a symphony. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. She turned away, not wanting them to see, but Dante saw anyway. After Luna went to bed, he found Elena, standing at the windows, arms wrapped around herself. You okay? He asked quietly. I don't know what I am. She didn't look at him. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know how long this can last. As long as it needs to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Dante moved to stand beside her. I know this isn't your home. I know you didn't choose this, but you're safe here, and that's what matters. Is it? Elena turned to face him. What happens when Brady gives up? When the danger passes? We just go back to our apartment and pretend none of this happened? If that's what you want, what I want doesn't matter. Luna is what matters. You matter too, Elena. The way he said her name made her chest tight. She looked up at him and saw something in his eyes that terrified her, something that looked almost like care. Who were they? She asked. The people in the photograph on your desk. Dante's jaw clenched. My wife, my daughter. What happened to them? He was quiet for so long Elena thought he wouldn't answer. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I was supposed to meet them at a restaurant, but I got held up with business. They went without me. He closed his eyes. A rival family sent shooters. They were targeting me, but I wasn't there, so they killed everyone in the restaurant instead. My wife, my 6-month-old daughter, 17 other people. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Dante. I couldn't protect them. I was too late. He opened his eyes and looked at her. I swore I'd never let that happen again. I swore I'd never care about anyone enough to risk it. And for 5 years, I kept that promise. Until now, Elena whispered. Until now. They stood there, inches apart, the city lights glowing behind them. Luna drew a picture today, Elena said softly, of the 3 of us, together. I know, she showed me. This can't be real, Dante. This can't last. Maybe not, but it's real right now. He reached up and touched her face, the same gentle gesture he'd made the day they met. And right now is all we have. Elena knew she should step back. She should protect her heart. She should remember that this man was dangerous. But when he leaned down and kissed her, she didn't pull away. This kiss was different from the first one. It wasn't for show. It wasn't to scare anyone away. It was just for them, and it felt like coming home. Elena woke the next morning with sunlight warming her face and the memory of Dante's kiss still burning on her lips. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling of the guest room, trying to convince herself that she hadn't just made a terrible mistake. But she couldn't. Because kissing Dante hadn't felt like a mistake. It had felt inevitable, like something that was always going to happen, no matter how hard she tried to fight it. She got up and went through her morning routine, checking on Luna, making breakfast. The little girl seemed happier than Elena had seen her in months. She ate her cereal with a small smile and kept looking toward the hallway like she was waiting for someone. Dante appeared at 7:30, already dressed in another perfect suit, but his hair was slightly damp, and Elena caught the scent of his soap as he passed. Something clean and masculine that made her stomach flutter. Morning. He poured himself coffee and glanced at Luna. Ready for school? Luna nodded eagerly. Marco's waiting downstairs. Dante crouched beside her chair. Have a good day, okay? Luna reached out and touched his cheek. Just for a second. Then she slipped off her chair and went to get her backpack. Dante stayed, crouched there, frozen, his hand coming up to touch the spot where her small fingers had been. Elena's heart cracked a little more. After Marco left with Luna, Elena and Dante stood in the kitchen in awkward silence. Everything felt different now. Charged. About last night, Elena started. You don't have to explain anything. I think I do. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I don't do this. I don't kiss men I barely know. I don't. I'm not that person. I know what kind of person you are, Elena. Dante's voice was quiet. You're someone who puts everyone else first. Who takes care of a child who isn't yours because it's the right thing to do. Who works herself to the bone to make sure that child has what she needs. You don't know me. I'm learning. He moved closer. And I like what I'm learning. Elena's breath caught. This can't happen. You know that, right? Whatever this is, it can't. The elevator doors opened. Marco stepped out, his expression grim. Boss, we have a problem. Dante's entire demeanor changed. The softness disappeared, replaced by cold authority. What is it? Brady showed up at Luna's school 20 minutes ago. Elena's coffee cup slipped from her hands and shattered on the floor. What? He tried to talk to her during drop-off. One of our guys intercepted, but the school called CPS. They're concerned about the situation. Oh God. Elena's knees went weak. Dante caught her arm, steadying her. Where is she now? His voice was lethal. Safe. In the principal's office with 2 of our men outside the door. But Elena needs to go there, now, and answer questions. Elena couldn't breathe. CPS, they could take Luna away. They could say Elena couldn't protect her. They could put her in foster care. No. The word came out as a sob. No, they can't take her. She's all I have. They're not taking her. Dante's hands were on her shoulders, firm and grounding. Look at me, Elena. Look at me. She forced herself to meet his eyes. They are not taking Luna, I promise you. But you need to pull yourself together and go to that school. Can you do that? Elena nodded, even though she was shaking so hard she could barely stand. Good. Marco will drive you. I'll make some calls. His jaw was tight. Brady just signed his death warrant. Dante, I'm not negotiating on this one. He went after a child. My child. He stopped, seeming to realize what he'd said. Luna is under my protection. That makes her mine. And no one touches what's mine. 20 minutes later, Elena sat in the principal's office at Luna's school, trying to explain the situation to a woman from Child Protective Services. The social worker was in her 40s, with tired eyes and a clipboard full of forms. So you're saying your ex-boyfriend has been threatening you, and you're currently staying with? She checked her notes. Dante Moretti? Yes. And what is your relationship with Mr. Moretti? Elena hesitated. What were they? He's helping us, keeping us safe, by moving you into his home, temporarily, until the situation is resolved. The social worker wrote something down. Miss Marquez, I understand you're in a difficult position, but moving a child into the home of a man with known criminal associations, he's not hurting her, he's protecting her. Elena's voice cracked. Brady is the danger, not Dante. That may be true, but our concern is Luna's stability and safety. Right now, her living situation is... The office door opened. Dante walked in. He wore his suit like armor, and the air in the room shifted the moment he entered. The principal straightened in her chair. The social worker's pen paused mid-note. Mr. Moretti, the principal said weakly. This is a private... I'm Luna's guardian. Dante's voice was calm but absolute. That makes this my business. The social worker frowned. According to our records, Miss Marquez is Luna's legal guardian. Check again. Dante pulled a folder from his briefcase and set it on the desk. My lawyers filed the paperwork this morning. Joint guardianship, effective immediately. Elena stared at him. What? It's been approved by a judge, Dante continued, ignoring her. Everything is in order. Luna is legally under both our care now. The social worker flipped through the documents, her frown deepening. But Elena could see the moment she realized everything was legitimate, legal, binding. This is highly unusual, the woman said. But legal. Dante's eyes were hard. Now, unless there are concerns about how Luna is being treated in our home, I think we're done here. There are concerns about the environment. Luna has her own room. She's enrolled in school. She's being fed, clothed, and cared for. She has access to therapy and medical care. Dante leaned forward slightly. She's also being protected from a man who threatened to hurt her. That protection is something Elena couldn't provide on her own. But together, we can, and we are. The silence stretched. Finally, the social worker closed her folder. We'll be conducting a home visit within the week. You're welcome, anytime. Dante stood. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to take Luna home. He held out his hand to Elena. She took it without thinking and let him pull her to her feet. They collected Luna from another room. The little girl was sitting with a teacher, coloring quietly. When she saw Dante, her face lit up, and she ran to him. Dante picked her up, something Elena had never seen him do before. Luna wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. "You're safe," he murmured to her. "I've got you." Elena felt tears burning in her eyes. They rode home in silence. Luna sat between them in the back of the car, holding both their hands. When they got to the penthouse, Dante set her down gently. "Why don't you go draw for a bit?" he said. "Your aunt and I need to talk." Luna looked between them, worried, but she nodded and went to her room. The moment she was gone, Elena turned on Dante. "What did you do?" "What I had to. You made yourself Luna's legal guardian without asking me." "I made us both her legal guardians." Dante's voice was steady. "It protects her, and it protects you. You don't get to make decisions like that." Elena's hands were shaking with anger and fear and something else she couldn't name. "She's my niece, my responsibility, and now she's mine too." Dante stepped closer. "Elena, CPS was going to take her. You know that. They were building a case. One more incident, and she'd be in the system. So you just, what? Bought a judge?" "I made sure Luna stays with the people who love her." His eyes burned into hers. "You're welcome." Elena wanted to scream at him. She wanted to tell him he'd overstepped, that he had no right. But he was right. Without him, she would have lost Luna today. She sank onto the couch and put her head in her hands. "I can't do this. I can't keep taking from you." "You're not taking anything. I'm giving." Dante sat beside her, careful not to touch her. "There's a difference." "Why?" Elena looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you doing all of this?" "You don't owe us anything. Maybe I owe myself." His voice was raw. "Maybe I need to prove I can protect someone, that I can keep the people I care about safe." "You care about us?" "Yes." The word was simple. Absolute. "I know I shouldn't. I know it's dangerous. But I do." Elena's chest ached. "Dante, you asked me who I was. This is who I am, Elena. I'm a man who's made a lot of mistakes, who's done things he's not proud of. But I'm also a man who keeps his promises, and I promise to keep you and Luna safe. That's what I'm doing. By making yourself her father?" Dante flinched. "Guardian, not father." She drew a picture of you as her father. "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "And that terrifies me more than anything Brady could ever do." Elena reached out and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, strong and warm. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we wait. CPS will come for their home visit. They'll see that Luna is safe and cared for. And then, hopefully, they'll close the case." "And Brady," Dante's jaw clenched. "Brady is being handled. What does that mean?" "It means he won't be a problem anymore." "Dante, you promised." "I promised I wouldn't kill him, and I won't." He looked at her. "But I didn't promise I wouldn't make him wish I had." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "I don't want to know, do I?" "No." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. In less than a week, her entire life had been turned upside down. She was living with a mobster, a dangerous man who controlled half the city with fear and violence. But he'd also made Luna smile for the first time in months. He'd protected them when no one else could. He'd kissed Elena like she was something precious. She got up and walked quietly through the penthouse. The city lights cast long shadows across the floor. She found herself standing outside Dante's study. The door was open. Dante sat at his desk, jacket off, tie loosened, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He was staring at the photograph of his wife and daughter. Elena should have left, should have given him privacy, but she didn't. She walked in and sat in the chair across from his desk. Dante looked up, startled. "Can't sleep?" "No," she gestured to the photo. "Tell me about them, Elena. Please, I want to know." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he picked up the frame and looked at it. "Her name was Isabella. We met when I was 25. She was a teacher." His thumb traced over the glass. "She didn't know what I did at first. By the time she found out, she was already in love with me. Or she said she was." You don't believe her? I believe she loved the man she thought I could be, not the man I was. He set the photo down. Our daughter's name was Sophia. She had Isabella's eyes. She was 6 months old when they died. How long ago? 5 years. Dante took a drink. 5 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Elena's throat tightened. You count. Every single one. Do you still love her, Isabella? I'll always love her. But she's gone, and I've learned to live with that. He looked at Elena. What I haven't learned to live with is the guilt. It wasn't your fault. It was exactly my fault. They died because of who I am. What I am. They died because someone else chose violence. Elena leaned forward. You didn't pull the trigger, Dante. I might as well have. Is that why you're doing this, protecting Luna and me? Because you're trying to make up for them? Dante's eyes met hers. Maybe at first, but not anymore. What changed? You did. He stood and came around the desk. You and Luna. You made me feel something I thought was dead. What? Hope. He pulled her to her feet. Hope that maybe I can be more than what I've been. That maybe I can build something instead of just destroying. Elena's heart hammered in her chest. Dante, I'm scared. Of me. Of this. Of how fast it's happening. Of how much I'm starting to need you. Good. His hands framed her face. Because I need you, too. Both of you. And that scares the hell out of me. He kissed her then, slow and deep and full of things neither of them could say out loud. When they finally pulled apart, Elena rested her forehead against his chest. What are we doing? She whispered. I don't know, but I don't want to stop. Neither did she. The next few days fell into a strange routine. Dante went to work, whatever that meant for him. Marco drove Luna to school and picked her up. Elena tried to make the penthouse feel less like a prison and more like a home. Luna thrived. She started talking more, still not out loud, but with gestures and expressions that became easier to read each day. She followed Dante around when he was home, sitting beside him while he worked, drawing pictures at his feet. And Elena watched them together and felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling. She and Dante didn't talk about the kiss, or the feelings growing between them, but the awareness was always there, in the way his hand would brush hers when he passed her something, in the way she'd catch him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. On Thursday, the social worker came for her home visit. Elena had spent the morning making sure everything was perfect. Luna's room was tidy. The kitchen was spotless. She'd even bought fresh flowers for the dining table. Dante came home early for the visit, changing into slightly more casual clothes, dress pants, and a button-down shirt instead of a full suit. He looked almost normal, almost safe. The social worker walked through the penthouse with her clipboard, making notes. She inspected Luna's room. She asked questions about schedules and routines and support systems. And she watched Dante and Elena interact with Luna. The little girl sat between them on the couch, coloring in a book. Every few minutes, she'd hold up her picture to show Dante. He'd study it seriously and tell her it was beautiful. Luna would glow and go back to coloring. How long have you two been together? The social worker asked. Elena froze. They weren't together. Not really. This was all just a few months, Dante said smoothly. We've been taking things slowly, for Luna's sake. The lie came so easily. Elena almost believed it herself. The social worker made another note. And you're both committed to Luna's care? Absolutely, Dante said. Yes, Elena added. She's everything to me. To us? Dante corrected gently. His hand found Elena's and squeezed. The social worker looked at their joined hands, at Luna's content expression, at the obvious comfort the little girl felt in this home. All right, she said finally. I'll file my report. Unless something changes dramatically, I don't see any reason for continued intervention. Elena nearly collapsed with relief. After the social worker left, Dante pulled Elena into his arms. She let herself lean into him, breathing in his scent, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong against her cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Always. That night, after Luna went to bed, Elena found Dante at the piano. His fingers moved over the keys, playing something soft and melancholy. She sat beside him on the bench. You never told me you played, she said. My mother taught me, before she died. You've lost a lot of people. Yes, he continued playing. That's why I don't let people in anymore. It's easier. Is it working, the keeping people out? Dante's hands stilled on the keys. He turned to look at her. No, not with you. I don't know how to do this, Elena admitted. I don't know how to be with someone like you. Someone like me? Someone dangerous? Someone who lives in a world I don't understand. Then don't try to understand it. Dante's hand came up to cup her cheek. Just be with me anyway. What if I can't? Then I'll wait. His thumb brushed over her lips. I've waited 5 years to feel anything, Elena. I can wait a little longer for you to be ready. And if I'm never ready, then I'll still protect you. I'll still make sure you and Luna are safe, because that's what you do for people you love. Elena's breath caught. Love? Dante's eyes widened slightly, like he'd surprised himself. Yes, love. Dante, we barely know each other. I know you put Luna's needs before your own. I know you work yourself to exhaustion to give her a good life. I know you're brave enough to ask a stranger for help when you're desperate. I know you see the good in people, even when they don't see it themselves. He leaned closer. I know enough. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared. So am I. What if this doesn't work? What if it does? She kissed him then. Not because it was smart, not because it was safe, but because she couldn't not kiss him. They stayed at the piano long after the city went quiet, learning each other in the darkness. And for the first time in years, Elena let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. She should have known better. The next morning, Marco burst into the penthouse without warning. Boss, we have a problem. Dante was up instantly, his entire body tensing. What is it? Brady got picked up by a rival family, the Castellanos. Elena's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Marco and Dante exchanged a look. It means this just became bigger than a jealous ex. Dante said grimly. The Castellanos have been looking for leverage against me for months. Brady must have told them about you, about Luna. Leverage? Elena's voice shook. For what? For war. Dante's expression was deadly, and they just declared it. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. War. Elena's hands started shaking. What does that mean? What are they going to do? Dante was already moving, pulling his phone from his pocket and making calls. His voice was clipped and cold as he barked orders to people Elena couldn't see. Marco stood by the elevator, tense and ready. Pack a bag, Dante said to Elena. Just essentials. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Leaving? Where are we going? Somewhere safer than here. He was throwing on his jacket, checking a gun that appeared from somewhere Elena hadn't seen. The sight of the weapon made her stomach turn. They know about this place. It's compromised. But the school Luna is at school, already handled. Marco's men picked her up 3 minutes ago. They're bringing her to us. Dante grabbed Elena's shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. I need you to trust me right now. Can you do that? Elena nodded, though fear had frozen her throat. She ran to the bedrooms and started shoving clothes into bags. Her hands fumbled with zippers and straps. Everything felt surreal, like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. How had this happened? How had asking a stranger to kiss her turned into this? The elevator doors opened, and Marco appeared with Luna. The little girl's eyes were wide with fear. She ran to Elena and wrapped her arms around her waist. It's okay, sweetheart, Elena lied, stroking Luna's hair. We're just going on another trip, an adventure. Luna's grip tightened. She knew something was wrong. She always knew. Dante crouched down beside them. Luna, I need you to be very brave right now. Can you do that for me? Luna looked at him with those big, trusting eyes and nodded. Good girl. He touched her cheek gently. No matter what happens, you stay with me or your aunt. You don't leave our sight. Understand? Another nod. Dante stood and took the bags from Elena. Let's go. They went down to the garage in the private elevator. But instead of Marco's usual car, there were 2 black SUVs waiting. Men Elena had never seen before stood guard, all of them armed. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Dante put them in the second SUV and climbed in beside them. Marco got in the front passenger seat. The driver was a stone-faced man who didn't speak. They pulled out of the garage fast, and Elena looked back to see the other SUV following close behind. Where are we going? She asked quietly. A safe house outside the city. Dante's hand found hers in the darkness of the back seat. It's secure. Off the grid. The Castellanos won't find it. What do they want with us? They want to hurt me. And the best way to do that is to hurt the people I care about. His jaw was tight. They've been looking for a weakness. Brady gave them one. How did he even know about them? He didn't. They found him. Marco spoke from the front seat without turning around. Word gets out fast in our world. Everyone knows the boss is protecting a woman and a kid. The Castellanos saw an opportunity. Elena felt sick. So this is my fault. If I hadn't asked you, this is Brady's fault. Dante cut her off, his voice hard. And the Castellanos's, not yours, never yours. Luna pressed closer to Elena's side, and Elena wrapped her arm around the little girl's shoulders. They drove in silence through the city, then out onto a highway that led into darker, emptier spaces. The safe house turned out to be a compound in the woods, surrounded by a high fence and gates that required codes to open. The main building was large but plain, more functional than beautiful. Security cameras covered every angle. Dante helped them out of the car and led them inside. The interior was sparse. Furniture that looked barely used. No personal touches. Just a place to hide. There are bedrooms upstairs, Dante said. Pick whichever ones you want. There's food in the kitchen, and an explosion shook the building. Elena screamed and grabbed Luna, pulling her down as glass shattered somewhere nearby. Dante was on top of them instantly, his body covering theirs. Marco, he shouted. South perimeter. Marco's voice came from somewhere outside. They followed us. Another explosion. Closer this time. Get them to the panic room. Dante was already moving, pulling Elena and Luna to their feet. He dragged them down a hallway to what looked like a coat closet. But when he pressed his hand to a hidden scanner, the back wall slid open, revealing a reinforced steel door. He punched in a code, and the door opened. Inside was a small room with no windows, concrete walls, and a single bench. Get in, Dante commanded. What about you? Elena's voice cracked. I'll handle this. He pushed them gently but firmly into the room. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me or Marco. And I mean anyone. Dante. He kissed her, hard and fast and desperate. I will come back for you, I promise. Then he closed the door, and Elena heard the locks engage. Luna was trembling in her arms. Elena sank down onto the bench and held the little girl close, trying to keep her own terror from showing. Outside, she could hear gunfire, shouting, the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Minutes passed like hours. Elena sang softly to Luna, old lullabies her sister used to sing, anything to drown out the sounds of violence beyond the door. And she prayed. She prayed that Dante would keep his promise, that Marco would be okay, that this nightmare would end. Luna was crying silently against her chest when the gunfire finally stopped. Silence fell, heavy and terrible. Elena held her breath, listening. Footsteps approached the door, slow, deliberate. Elena's heart stopped. A knock, 3 times, then twice. Then 3 times again. The code Dante had whispered to her before closing the door. Elena stood on shaking legs and entered the unlock sequence. The door swung open. Dante stood there, covered in blood that might or might not have been his. His shirt was torn. His face was hard and cold and utterly lethal. But when he saw them, something in his expression cracked. You're safe, he said, his voice rough. You're safe. Elena stumbled out of the panic room and into his arms. Luna pressed between them. Dante held them both so tight, Elena could barely breathe. What happened? She whispered. They're gone. His hand cupped the back of her head. They won't bother us again, are they? Did you? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Elena closed her eyes and nodded against his chest. Marco appeared in the hallway, also bloodied but walking. Perimeter is secure. We lost 2 men, but we got all of theirs. Their bodies? Dante asked. Already being handled? Good. Double the guard. I want eyes everywhere. Yes, boss. Dante pulled back and looked down at Luna. The little girl's face was tear-stained and terrified. He knelt down to her level. I'm sorry you had to be scared, he said softly. But it's over now. You're safe. I promise you're safe. Luna threw her arms around his neck. And for the first time since the accident that took her mother, she spoke. Don't leave us. The words were barely a whisper, but everyone heard them. Dante's arms tightened around her. His eyes closed. Never. I will never leave you. Elena's knees went weak. She grabbed the wall for support as tears streamed down her face. Luna had spoken, because of Dante, because she was finally safe enough to find her voice. That night, Elena couldn't let Luna out of her sight. She sat with her while she ate, stayed with her while she bathed, lay beside her in bed until she fell asleep. When she finally left the bedroom, she found Dante in the kitchen. He'd showered and changed into clean clothes, but there was a fresh bruise on his jaw and cuts on his knuckles. "Is she asleep?" he asked. Finally, Elena leaned against the counter. "She spoke today. I know, because of you, because she felt safe enough with you to use her voice again." Dante's hands gripped the edge of the counter. "I almost got her killed today. No, you saved her. They found us because of me, Elena. Because I brought you into my world. They found us because Brady is a monster and he gave us up to other monsters." Elena moved closer. "You didn't cause this, Dante. You're the only reason we're still alive." He turned to face her, and the rawness in his expression nearly broke her heart. "I can't lose another family," he said quietly. "I can't survive it again. Then don't lose us." Elena reached up and touched his face. "Stay with us. Keep us safe. Let us keep you safe too. I'm not the one who needs protecting. Yes, you are, just in a different way." She kissed him then, gentle and careful and full of everything she couldn't say. Dante's hands came up to frame her face, and he deepened the kiss, pouring years of loneliness and grief and desperate hope into it. When they finally broke apart, Elena rested her forehead against his. "What happens now?" she whispered. "Now I end this." His voice was hard. "I find Brady and the Castellanos who are left, and I make sure they never threaten you again." "How?" "However I have to." Elena pulled back to look at him. "I don't want you to become a monster for us. I've been a monster for a long time, Elena. You just made me want to be something more." The next morning, Dante was gone when Elena woke up. Marco was in the kitchen, looking grim. "Where is he?" Elena demanded. "Handling business." "What kind of business?" Marco's expression was answer enough. Elena spent the day trying to keep Luna distracted. They played games. They drew pictures. They watched movies on a laptop Marco provided. But Elena's mind was somewhere else, with Dante. Wherever he was, whatever he was doing, she kept thinking about his promise, that he would end this, and she was terrified of what that meant. Dante didn't return until late that night. He walked in covered in more blood, his eyes cold and distant. "It's done," was all he said. "What's done?" "Brady won't bother you anymore. Neither will the Castellanos." Elena's stomach turned. "Dante, what did you do?" "What I had to." He walked past her toward the bathroom. "You're safe now. That's all that matters." She followed him. "Did you kill them?" He turned on the shower without answering. "Dante," she grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. "Did you kill them?" His eyes met hers. Empty, haunted. "Yes." The word was simple, final. Elena's hand fell away from his arm. "You said you wouldn't. I said I wouldn't kill Brady for what he did to you, but I never promised not to kill him for what he did to Luna, for putting her in danger, for giving her to people who would have used her to destroy me. So you just, what? Executed him?" "I did what needed to be done." Dante's voice was flat. "And I'd do it again, 1,000 times over, because that man threatened my family. And I don't forgive that." Elena stepped back, her mind reeling. "Your family?" "Yes." Something flickered in Dante's eyes. "You and Luna. You're my family now, whether you want to be or not. You can't just decide that. I already have." He moved closer, and Elena saw the desperation beneath his cold exterior. "You're mine, Elena, both of you, and I will burn down anyone who tries to take you from me." The words should have scared her. They should have sent her running, but they didn't, because somewhere along the way, she'd fallen in love with this dangerous, broken man who'd given her and Luna everything he had. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "I know. I didn't ask to fall in love with you." Dante went still. "What?" "I love you." The words came out broken. "God help me. I love you. Even though you're dangerous, even though you just killed people, even though this whole thing is insane." Dante's hands framed her face. "Say it again. I love you." He kissed her like a drowning man finding air. like she was the only thing keeping him alive, and maybe she was. They stood there in the bathroom, holding each other while the shower ran, and Elena let herself believe that maybe this could work, that maybe love was enough, even when it was messy, even when it was dangerous, even when it was with a man who'd killed for her. 3 months later, Elena stood in the kitchen of the penthouse, their penthouse now, not just Dante's, and watched the sunrise paint the city gold. So much had changed. Brady was gone. The Castellanos were gone. The threats had ended. CPS had closed their case. Luna was thriving. She talked now, not constantly, but enough. She laughed. She played. She was happy. And Elena had stopped looking over her shoulder. She heard footsteps behind her and felt Dante's arms wrap around her waist. He pulled her back against his chest and kissed her neck. "Good morning," he murmured. "Good morning." Luna, still asleep. "Probably not for long. You know how early she wakes up." Dante chuckled. The sound still surprised Elena sometimes. How easily happiness came to him now. He turned her around in his arms and pulled a small box from his pocket. Elena's breath caught. "I know this is fast," Dante said quietly. "I know we've only been together a few months, but I've wasted 5 years being afraid to live. I don't want to waste any more time." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. "Marry me, Elena. Let me be your husband. Let me be Luna's father. Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you're both safe and loved and happy." Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. "Yes, yes, yes, I'll marry you." Dante slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her so thoroughly she forgot to breathe. When they finally broke apart, a small voice came from the hallway. "Are you kissing again?" They turned to find Luna standing there in her pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit, a smile on her face. "Yes," Dante said, grinning, "and you should probably get used to it." Luna wrinkled her nose, but came over to them anyway. Dante picked her up and settled her on his hip. She rested her head on his shoulder. "We have something to tell you," Elena said softly. "What?" Dante pulled a second small box from his pocket, one Elena hadn't seen. He handed it to Luna. "Open it." Luna opened the box carefully. Inside was a silver necklace with a small moon charm. "Luna means moon," Dante said, "and you light up my whole world, just like the moon lights up the night." He paused. "I want to adopt you, make you my daughter, if that's okay with you." Luna's eyes went wide. "Really? Really? You'd be Luna Moretti, and I'd be your dad, officially." Luna looked at Elena, asking permission without words. Elena nodded through her tears. "If you want him to be your dad, sweetheart, then he will be." Luna threw her arms around Dante's neck. "I want that. I want you to be my dad." Dante's eyes closed. His arms tightened around her, and Elena saw a tear slide down his cheek. They stood there in the morning light, the three of them, and Elena thought about how far they'd come. From a desperate kiss on a street corner to this, a family. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't normal, but it was theirs. And it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. 6 months later, Elena and Dante stood in front of a judge and said their vows. Luna was their flower girl, wearing a pale yellow dress that matched her bright smile. Marco stood as Dante's best man. Rosie from the diner sat in the front row, crying happy tears. It was a small wedding, quiet, perfect. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Dante kissed Elena like she was his whole world. Because she was. After the ceremony, they went home, the three of them, to the penthouse that finally felt like it belonged to all of them. Dante had converted his study into a playroom for Luna. Elena had filled the kitchen with her favorite things. They'd hung family photos in the hallway. They'd built a life together. That night, after Luna was asleep, Elena found Dante standing at the piano. He was playing something soft and sweet. She sat beside him on the bench, just like she had that first night when everything changed. "Happy?" he asked. "Happier than I ever thought I could be." "Me too." His fingers stilled on the keys. "You saved me, you. No, both of you. You saved us first. Maybe we saved each other." Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Dante Moretti. I love you too, Elena Moretti." He kissed the top of her head. "My wife, my family, my everything." From down the hall, they heard Luna's voice call out, "Dad, can you check for monsters?" Dante smiled. the real, genuine smile that only appeared around his girls. "Coming, princess." He stood and held out his hand to Elena. She took it, and together they walked toward Luna's room, toward their daughter, toward the life they'd built from ashes and fear and one desperate kiss, a life filled with safety, with trust, with love, the kind of love that healed old wounds and chased away nightmares, the kind of love that lasted forever. The end.